back, legends. I hope you're all fantastic. It's time for another installment of Friday Q&A. Thanks as always for this week's questions. If you have questions you would like me to answer in next week's video, please put them in the comments below. The usual links to support the channel are included in the video description. And it's an acoustic episode today because I was asked to do an acoustic episode last week. This is my amazing Headway guitar. It is a, what's the model number? I can never remember. C313 40th anniversary. Beautiful sounding guitar, even though it's just getting picked up by my little vocal mic here. And yeah, I just love playing stuff on this, whether I'm trying to write like the intro to my own little sitcom or something, you know. Or whether I'm doing a really bad impression of Al Di Meola. Acoustic guitar, it's kind of like eating your vegetables. If you want to get good at playing something, practice it on acoustic guitar first, and it will be like spinach is to Popeye, but to your guitar chops. Anyway, I'll play a few little things on this thing as we go, but let's smash through some questions. The first one is from Costas. Costas says, Leon, what do you think if I buy an EVH 5153 Stealth as a power amp for my Axe FX3 and use the return loop? It's not a bad idea. You are kind of then chained to the sound of that particular power amp, but I'm guessing that's kind of what you want. Having an amp like that also gives you the option if you want to run it in 4-cable method, so it's not necessarily a bad option. If I was going to gig with that though, I would definitely just go for a standalone power amp, which is why I got a Matrix power amp, because it doesn't really have its own sound. I can use the power amp modeling in the Axe FX3 and it's nice and light, but if you're just jamming at home, those EVH Stealths are pretty awesome. And thank you to everybody who pointed out that it's Brooke St. James who plays in Taiketo. And yeah, cool band, very, very cool band, great player. Same with the Up From the Ashes album. It was cool to see so many people enjoying that particular Don Dokken album. This one is from Soda Cake. Have you checked out Sky Harbor, Indian progressive metal band? And Marty Friedman did play on some of their stuff, and I have checked them out before. Very, very cool. Great recommendation to anybody who hasn't checked out any of their stuff. It seems like sort of like progressive rock and metal is reasonably popular, as I understand it, in India. I know Carnival, who are based in Perth and from Perth, they played over in India the year before last or something like that. They headlined a festival over there. So yeah, cool to see the prog spreading all around the world. This is a question from Jake Turk. Have I ever played any gigs with my dad? I'd love to see you guys jam when he makes his debut on the channel. No gigs, but he has got up and sat in with us a few times. I think he's got up and played some ZZ Top before, so that was pretty awesome. A, getting to watch your dad do a gig, and B, getting to watch your bandmates do a gig, because you kind of never get that experience, you know? You get to see the people you play with all the time playing, but you're not up there. So yeah, that was an amazing experience. A couple of times that's happened. I do want to get him up again at a few more gigs, and I'll make sure I film it as well. Alrighty, Jeff M. Leon, do you have any tips for playing while standing? I spend most of my time sitting down and playing. I do the same thing. There's a lot that goes into this, and you know, I'm not a physiotherapist or a you know, an expert on anatomy or anything like that, but you know, I like to sit with the guitar on my left knee. I find that's kind of similar to the angle I have when I'm playing. I would recommend, if you want to get standing up and playing into your routine, to do it more. And there's nothing wrong with, you know, having Tom Morello or Frank Gambale's strap height when you're playing at home. Sure, it doesn't look cool, but it is a good way to transition from that sitting posture to your kind of standing posture. And then you can just kind of slowly lower your strap, maybe every couple of practice sessions, just kind of dip it down and be very aware of like the angle of your limbs and your shoulders, right? Something that I see happen with people when they try to play standing up is, you know, where their elbows are will go to weird places. And if you're trying to play some kind of shreddy thing, like with a big stretch, what I've noticed about my own playing is that I find it easier to stretch when I kind of tuck my elbow into like your lat right here, rather than trying to do that when you're playing live. I think you just kind of have to do it. And yeah, there's no substitute for experience in that case. But I would say to transition, start with your strap up at kind of Dorkosaurus levels and gradually bring it down to super cool level with your strap. Alrighty, this one is from Matthew Taylor, Yowie Research. For anyone who's unaware of what a Yowie is, maybe you are aware, but the actual kind of myth about the thing that's not a little chocolate is kind of interesting. So Matthew Taylor, Yowie Research. Best three-piece he's heard for donkey's ears are the drills. Yes, I totally agree, because anything Phil X does is amazing. And I feel like there's a question in here that I kind of missed. No, that was it. Another music recommendation, Phil X and the Drills. Did you bring a bong along station? That made me laugh as well. That reminded me of being at school. Have I done a guitar collection video? This one comes from Steve Cole. Yes, I have. I think it's up somewhere. If you search like Leon Todd guitar collection or guitar tour maybe, that will be up there. How many guitars do you have on those walls? I try not to keep count because then I'll be terrified. It's over 30. Don't tell anyone though. Alrighty. on that note, let's just move straight along. Let's play some chords. This question comes from PRS Dave. Have I ever tried my Axe FX3 through a power amp and a regular guitar cab? Yes, and I would recommend it. It's probably the best way if you are new to modeling to transition to using modeling, because so much of the experience of playing a real guitar amp is actually the speaker cab more than the amp. And you're using a full range speaker and cabinet IRs, you got to remember that you got to compare them to a mic'd up amp and not to just like a speaker cab. So yes, I've got a Matrix power amp that I've gigged with a lot. I also have a Synergy power amp that sounds pretty fantastic, and a Boogie power amp, which is way too loud to use. But yeah, I did gig with a Matrix for a while because we could run it dual mono. We'd run bass out of it as well, and that was pretty fantastic. Alrighty. This question came up on my live stream, but I will address it. Is it me singing on the Ragdoll stuff? No, you don't want to hear me sing. That's Ryan Rafferty. He's got the golden voice. He also plays bass guitar in the great tradition of singing bass players. So yeah, it's definitely not me singing. I sing on our demos, and the only other person who hears them is Ryan, and maybe my wife. She has to put up with me grunting and groaning over in the corner like I'm being tortured. All right, moving right along. This one is from, now, how do I say this? It's spelled Jorge. Is it George or is it Jorge? I'm terrible. Can I make a video on Pat Thrall? Yeah, because Hughes and Thrall is one of my favorite albums of all time. Talk about a one-time only partnership. So good. And Pat on the Pat Travis stuff is amazing. Absolutely amazing. Definitely at least a candidate for like a 5-minute licks video, because Pat plays some fantastic stuff. Alrighty, this is a good one from Rockstar Jazz Cat. How do the flat earthers explain winter in Perth? Yes, I would love to know that. Maybe I don't. If you're a flat earther, maybe this isn't the best place to hang out. But yeah, it is cold down here in the southern hemisphere at the moment. This one's from Matthew Troxel. Do I have a guitar for slide? If so, which one? If not, what tasty axe would you want for such an endeavor? I have a Greco Les Paul copy, and I've got the action about that high on it that I use for slide. But the only slide I've actually played on recording, if you go and listen to the Ragdoll song Astray, I played it on an acoustic guitar through a Marshall because that was the easiest way to do it. The action was nice and high, and I really wanted to get that. If you listen to Tonic's Lemon Parade album, there's all these great slide parts that kind of, wash around your head, and we were definitely going for that kind of vibe on that one. So yeah, but I don't play that much slide. I have been trying to do it more on my guitars in standard tuning, the kind of Brett Garsed approach, but I'm also not Brett Garsed, so it kind of sucks. Next question, what do I think about those new Ibanez headless guitars? I like the Ichika model. I think that's pretty fantastic that they're getting a signature model, and that looks like perfect for Ichika. The other ones, I'm not 100% sold on, mostly because it's fanned fret, but it's not multi-scale. I struggle to understand why Ibanez wouldn't do like an extended range multi-scale guitar rather than just one with fan frets, because the whole point of the multi-scale is the frets kind of follow the arc of your hand, right? Whereas these are just fanned in one direction. So I don't want to judge it without trying it, but something about me says that it would actually be super weird playing chords on it down here. But what do you all think about those particular guitars? I did like the Ichika one, but the fan fret thing without being a multi-scale, not too sold on. I also saw the new Boss guitar synth as well, which kind of looks nice as well. I'm curious as to how that works and if it's just a plug and play guitar synth thing, because if that's the case, it looks like a pretty good solution. You can just show up to a gig and plug that in, or you could have your normal rig and you could just run that in parallel without needing another device. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right, a few more questions left for today. We've been racing through. Is there a guitar finish that makes you go, oh damn, when you see it, or do you not care about colors finishes? Look, I do not as much as I used to when I was like 15, when I would get dial-up internet and go and look up all the new Gibson custom shop guitars on there, and I'd look for like green burst and blue burst. I thought that was so novel because I never saw guitars like that. I do love a good kind of teardroppy sunburst like on this particular guitar. I also am a little bit of a sucker for like surf green and Lake Placid blue and those old Fender DuPont style colors. They're beautiful. And I saw it, wow, what was it? I think it was actually this like custom PRS with like I can't remember if it was like a spalted maple top, but it was over the top, but it was kind of nice over the top. But I think, if I had a signature model guitar, it would probably just be black, because you can have it any color you like, the old Henry Ford thing, and also because my main PRS is black, but with a natural binding. I do like that. I really like it when you have a solid color and then just like a little kind of wood flare or something like that. So yeah, there's a few like that, but I'm less into the kind of super garish blue burst or anything like that. Just give me like a solid color or a nice little bit of flame maple, and I will probably be pretty stoked. Okay, this one is from Fun. About the two guitars question, you looked up the strokes and you said that sometimes they play 3 different melodies, 2 on the guitar and 1 on the vocal. How would you approach that kind of thing? I would just play whatever part is the loudest. If you can work out a way to play both parts at the same time, that's amazing. Or if you can work out a way to play them with a looper, so maybe play one part and then play the next part on top. That is really challenging to sync up live, those. So a good example, and it's not a Strokes song, but think about a song like Sweet Child of Mine. If you're the only guitar player, you have to play this part. You gotta do that. But then, there's a whole other part just kind of doing that stuff while on other guitars. Doing those arpeggios. So you can kind of like cram those. Just give it a little bit of movement, a little bit of motion. The other thing you can do as well is, if there's a particular part which is interlocking, in the first verse, you could play one riff. In the second verse, you could play the other riff. Sometimes, this took me a long time to realize as well, is sometimes you just got to leave space. And space is totally cool. Space is actually kind of awesome in music, and is a very, very overlooked technique. Alrighty. Thank you all so much for this week's questions. If you're in Perth, this video normally goes up about 7 p.m. Perth time on a Friday. You still have time to get down to Convenience in Northbridge and watch us play a gig. Pretty awesome, actually. One of my ex-students, Miles Green, and his band Helligan are launching their first single, and we're playing with them. We're headlining and they're opening up, and just shout out to Miles. He's got a great YouTube channel as well, and Helligan are really, really good. He's an amazing player, and I still remember the first day Miles came for a lesson when he was this tiny little kid, and he played the solo for Black Sabbath's Paranoid perfect. And I just had one of those moments, you know, when you're a guitar teacher, it might have been one of those once in a lifetime moments where you just get that student that makes you look so good as a teacher because they put in so much hard work. So yeah, that is at Convenience in Northbridge. If you're in Perth and you feel like getting out tonight and you're sitting on the toilet at the moment or something watching this Q&A, we're on at about 10:30 p.m. Come out, watch some live music. We're so lucky to be able to play live music safely and soundly. And to the rest of you out there, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, be good to one another. I'll see you all next time.